My name is Mike Foster, the Entrepreneur's Mentor, and welcome to my interview series, A Zoom With. I regularly share my thoughts via my video snippets to help you start, develop and grow your business. But this series of interviews is to introduce you to trusted experts with a view of them sharing their thoughts and their tips. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Helen Fallon, Managing Director of Global CTS Limited. And Helen is a recruitment consultant making recruitment about people, not just a CV. Welcome, Helen.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for joining us, and I'm sure we'll explore this thing about people and not just the CV as we go through the questions. I've got 4 or 5 questions for you today. It'd just be interesting to hear your thoughts. But first of all, if I can just ask you to start with, to introduce yourself, who you are, and a bit about the business.
Of course, yeah. Well, thanks for inviting me, Mike. It's really kind of you to do so. As you said, I'm Helen Fallon. I'm the MD of Global CTS Recruitment. We're based in Wantage. I've been here for about 2 years, but we've been trading for 3 years this month. To have a team of 5, which is great. And we work in the Oxfordshire, Berkshire and Gloucester and sometimes Buckinghamshire area. Only on the permanent market. We don't do temps, it's all perm. And as you say, we really try to take it back a step and make recruitment about the person rather than just the CV.
Excellent. I guess we should congratulate you on that 3-year anniversary, as a few of us did on social media. So congratulations.
Oh, really quickly.
Is it?
Yeah.
Time flies. So a common question I'm asking everybody in the interviews at the moment is, how are you and your customers finding the current business climate with COVID, etc.?
I'd be lying if I said it hadn't affected us. I don't think there's many markets that haven't been affected by it. It's about communicating, and we've been talking to quite a few clients. We've kept in touch with clients. We did have a lot of roles that went on to hold because they physically couldn't meet the candidates. And although I think there's a great market for this sort of conversation, and I think it will be even more embraced once we get through this COVID situation. It doesn't take away the element of actually physically meeting somebody face to face. And that goes from a client point of view and a candidate point of view. And a lot of candidates were frustrated when they were already at second interview stage and it was all stopped. But, you know, as I said to them, when you're taking a job, it's a huge part of your life. And it's really important for them to go in and see the culture of the business as well as the client, because otherwise talking to somebody like this is fantastic. And, you know, whilst they might really get on with you, Mike, and think, yeah, Mike's a great person, I could definitely work for him, going into the premises when they've accepted an offer and then finding out the rest of the team aren't necessarily the right sort of people they want to be around, it's an expensive mistake to make.
Yeah, and how are you finding the recruitment market specifically at the moment then?
Not busy, no two ways about it. We have got 2 roles that went live last week, which is great, for an account manager and a marketing exec position. And I think that's because people are starting to see that there is potentially a light at the end of the tunnel. I know Boris's announcement yesterday wasn't particularly didn't have the clarity that potentially we were all hoping for. But I was talking to a lot of clients last week just to keep in touch with them and see how they were and how they were coping in the crisis. And interesting, a lot of them have shifted from that initial panic of trying to sort the IT out, trying to get laptops and mobiles to staff so they could work from home, to actually putting processes in place to return staff to the workplace, hopefully the beginning of June. So I think the vibe was definitely a lot more positive next to it last week as it was, you know, the previous 2 weeks. I think we can all admit that being out and about, the roads seem to be busier, the shops seem to be busier. And I think as much as we do need to stay safe, and that's really critical that we are there to support the NHS and all the key workers, for the economy's sake, we do sort of need to get back to work and as safely as possible, but also to make sure that the wheels are still going and people are still earning money.
That's great. But you're, you know, like me, you're speaking to clients now and you're finding that people are moving into the planning stage.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, planning for whenever they can start to re-engage. And I guess recruitment and hiring good people is going to be high on people's agenda.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some changes, and I think what's going to be interesting is there are people that are working from home that have never worked from home before. There are people that are spending time with their family, the duration of time with their family that they've never had that opportunity to do before. And it will bring about some changes. There are definitely going to be companies that will offer that flexibility now to let people work from home. Equally, I actually think there's going to be a lot of people who, when it comes back to going to work, might resign. They've become accustomed to not going to the pub, not going to restaurants, therefore they're cutting their cloth accordingly. And for some people, the option to maybe go part-time, have a less stressful life and have more family time is very appealing.
Good point. Good point. And one of the things I particularly like about what I see you share on social media and when we talk is how you're supportive of people looking for jobs, not just obviously for your clients trying to find people. So do you have any advice right now for people that are searching for work?
I think it's a good time to spend the time doing your CV. I had quite a few phone calls of people who have got the time to do it. You know, they're furloughed, they're at home, or they're working part-time, you know, and they've got the time now to tweak the CV, to make sure it's right. Potentially for some people, it's a case of having a couple of CVs because they may have a skill set that actually is slightly diverse. So they could be a very strong customer service person, but actually they're a really good organizer. They've got very strong PA skills and admin skills. So actually it's not lying on their CV, but it's bringing out a different skill set which would match a job they were applying for better and closer. It's a great time to be doing upskills. There are some fantastic courses out there that are either really, really cheap or even free. And this is the time to be doing that. And I think it's a great conversation to have with an potential employer in your interview. You know, that during your furlough experience, actually what I did was I upskilled in this area, rather than I didn't do anything. So I think that's, you know, a good thing to be doing. It gives you a great time to be able to research companies, get an indication of the sort of job you want to do, and really take stock of your current role and write those lists of what you do like about it, what you don't like about it. And I always use, from the beginning of my days in recruitment 20 years ago, my very first manager taught me something called the 5-3-1 method, which is really, really old school. And it works with clients and with candidates when you're trying to sort of narrow down what you're trying to do. So from a candidate perspective, I would sit them down and say, what's the top 5 elements of what you're looking for with your next job? And it could be location, salary, development, opportunity, training, whatever your 5 things are. And then from those 5, what are your top 3? And that could be the location, development and salary. From that top 3, what is the single most important thing for you? And it really helps them really think about the clarity of what's important to them for the next role. Same with a client, you know, what 5 skill sets are you looking for to recruit? What's 3? What's the single most important one? And from a recruiter, it gives me something to challenge back on the candidate. So, or the client, you said you wanted these 5. From that 5, you absolutely had to have these 3, and this was the single most important thing. We've met that. So what's not right about that job, or what's not right about that candidate? And it makes them think. And that's the whole point, is that we're there to challenge people, not just be that CV service that just chucks across 5 CVs, 6 CVs, or puts a job in front of somebody and says, that's it. We're there to challenge them and rethink about it.
I love that. I love the 5-3-1. I think that's really
old school. If anyone's watching this that did recruitment from a long, long time ago, they go, oh my God, that's really old school.
It's so simplistic, isn't it? I think in terms of, from our perspective, in terms of trying to recruit someone, you know, what I think sometimes we think about the 1 or the 3, but we make up some other things because we think we need to pad out the job description or whatever it is, and then we get the wrong candidate. So it's a really useful tip, that really. And I guess going back to how I introduced you, which is how you phrase yourself on your LinkedIn profile about being a recruitment consultant, making recruitment about people, not just a CV. Is that where that sort of comes from, that sort of thought?
I think when I started the business, for years, people have been saying to me, you know, why are you not working for yourself? You know, you should be doing it, you should be getting out on your own. Well, I think, you know, like a lot of people, it's a lack of confidence that you can actually do it. I'm the first to admit I'm happy networking, I'm happy talking to people. My admin skills are shockingly bad. I am not an administration person at all, so that's definitely a weak part for me. My accountant will back me up on that. And it took a situation in my personal life to make me sit up and go, this is it, this is the time to do it. And I think one of those reasons is because recruiters have a bad rep in the market generally, and we view people as commodities. They've got a price on their head, and you know, if we can place them, fantastic, we're nice to them when we need them, and we ghost them when we don't. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it. And one of the things that I have championed as the business has grown is even the basics of everybody that applies for a job gets a response. There is no reason this day and age with automated responses that you can't respond back to somebody to say the job has been filled, it's moved to interview stage, unfortunately you haven't been successful. And I would welcome people phoning us to say why. You know, and we'll be very honest and we'll tell them the reason why I haven't been successful. And equally moving forward to the physical recruitment of a role, I often sit in front of a client and say, well, what do you want? 5 great CVs or 4 great people? You know, and that's the way that it works. And we spend a lot of time doing these sort of things and meeting people face-to-face coffees, not so much at the moment. And I was doing a call this morning with somebody else, and I said, probably one of the funniest things I did recently, a client of mine that I work exclusively with, great company, and their client base is very, very high end. And they're very particular about the sort of people that they have working for them because of the clientele they have. And doing a Zoom call with somebody who applied for the job, who had the perfect CV, over the telephone sounded absolutely spot on. But when the video clicked in, so many tattoos, pink hair, big Mohican, big ear extender in, big nose extender in, and I was like, probably not going to work. and it is about a cultural fit, and I think that's really critical because you can train people, you can train on Excel, you can train on anything pretty much, but a cultural fit is something that you either have or you don't, and it's really critical.
Brilliant. I love your focus on people, and I know that's why you've hit this landmark, and you'll achieve another landmark in the future. So wish you every success. Thank you, Helen. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for sharing some thoughts with us, and certainly some tips around that 5-3-1, which I particularly liked. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mike. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
So please subscribe to my YouTube channel and get notified each time I publish a new interview. And I'll see you next time for a Zoom with whoever's next.